Every once in a while, the content creation world is graced with a device that makes you just go, wow. It kind of takes you by surprise and actually blows you away with its capabilities. This is one of those moments. Welcome everyone to the DJI Osmo X5 Pro.
Hey guys, welcome to a new video. This is the first video that we're doing in 2024. So we are gonna kick it off straight away by talking about this. This is the Osmo X5 by DJI, and it's essentially a camera that was taken off the Inspire drone and stuck onto this handheld device.
So I've been using this as a B-roll camera, as well as, for some projects at least, as an A camera. Throughout this video, I'm going to go through all the pros and cons that we've experienced while owning this device and using it on various projects.
Let's start off by talking about what this thing is absolutely amazing at doing. First of all, well, look at it. Look at the form factor. It has the gimbal and the camera in one. It does not require balancing like you do with most other gimbals, and they're massive as well. Ronins that were produced back in the day, you needed to obviously have a separate camera. And then every time you change the lens, every time you added an ND filter, the actual monitors that you would have on top to actually view the actual footage from your camera, all of that added weight and all of that needed to be rebalanced every time you stuck it onto a gimbal. That took time. And that's not to say this doesn't take time. This does take a couple of minutes to set up because you do have to connect it to Wi-Fi. It gives off its own Wi-Fi. So you have to find it on your phone using the DJI app, connect to it. So it does take a couple of minutes, but it's a lot quicker than setting up something like a Ronin, for example, with your camera, lenses, and balancing everything. This doesn't require any balancing. You just literally switch it on, hold the button down, ready to go. That's ready to go. However, like I said, you do need to connect to the Wi-Fi. You do need to do these additional steps, and then you're ready to shoot. So give yourself about 5 minutes before you begin shooting. So the quality of this camera is absolutely amazing for what it is and what it can do. I mean, it's like 6-7 years old now, but still today, the quality is great. As standard, it comes with a 16mm 1.7 aperture lens. Now, I have actually purchased an additional lens here. This is the Olympus 45mm lens. Now, this is a micro four thirds sensor, so this would be cropped in quite a bit. So it behaves more like probably like a 60 to 70mm lens. However, the footage that you can get out of this is actually very, very nice. Now, we've used both of these lenses. The 45mm, this thing is absolutely incredible. Some of the footage that we've shot, especially because it's on gimbal, you know, you can shoot it in a particular way, chuck an ND filter on there as well, and you can do a lot of shots outside. Depending on how much light there is, you can actually get some very creamy results. So having this 45mm lens on there is actually a huge bonus because it just gives you that more flexibility to get those dynamic cinematic shots that you want. Another awesome thing that DJI has done is actually included all of this in a hard shell case. This case is amazing. It has all the compartments for everything to fit in nicely, and even has this additional slot to actually put the focus wheel on. What is a focus wheel? It's this thing. I think this, if you do have a DJI Osmo X5, this thing is crucial to have. It's almost like a wireless focus, but what it does is it attaches to the side of your gimbal right over here, and then you can use that for focusing rather than actually having to touch the screen on your phone on the app to actually pull manual focus. It has autofocus as well, but manual focus is usually done, if you don't have one of these, it's done on the app, and you have to kind of slide your finger on the screen to get the area of focus that you want. And this is a solid piece of kit. I think these are probably around 450 to 500 pounds if you were buying these new. Now you probably pick one up for maybe, I don't know, 200 quid, if that. I think I got mine for around that much. So it has a switch here on the back as well to turn it on and off, and you can adjust how much flexibility you want or how much travel you want by adjusting these 2 points here. So it's very nice. It actually locks once it reaches maximum and minimum focus. You can hear that click. And of course it comes with this cable, which is what you need to connect this to the front of the gimbal. And then that allows you to control the follow focus and do your focusing very, very smoothly. So I've used this camera on various different shoots in the past. We've used it on automotive shoots. We've used it on weddings. We've used it on engagement parties, etc., events, things like that. And it's been very good for each and every single one of those shoots. Now, there are some disadvantages. The biggest one being the audio. This is not a camera you want to use if you want to capture good audio. I mean, you would need to have an external mic like the one I'm wearing, for example, and you would need to attach that to whoever is speaking if you're going to use it for that. But then there are also other issues, like for example, if you're recording in 4K, which this camera does, and it does it in 24 frames per second. This is full 4K, by the way. And it has this issue where after about a minute and a half, it starts to lag the audio to the visual. Now that could be to do with the actual card itself. I've actually had to speak to DJI support directly. It takes micro SD card, so they said get a faster micro SD card. I've tried to get the fastest one possible. It still has the same issue. Recording in 1080p, not a problem. Another massive thing that's actually wrong with this camera is the noise of the fan. The fan is extremely loud. In fact, I'm gonna turn it on and you guys are gonna hear it. All right, so it's now running, as you can see. So you have this trigger at the front, as you have had with various DJI devices. You've got this joystick at the back. So let's say you moved it around over there and you just double click and the camera faces the front. But then also if you triple click, it turns into selfie mode. So you can technically vlog with this camera if you wanted to, but it's not something that I would recommend because it will capture noise of the fan. All right, so the fan in this camera has now kicked in and this is what it sounds like. So it's quite noticeable, and this is the reason why I wouldn't recommend it as a sort of main camera if you're going to be recording a lot of audio or doing interviews and things like that. So a few of the other annoying things that I find with this thing are things like you have to use your phone in order to see what your camera is looking at, and that's not always an issue. It has a very functional DJI app and has all the controls you need to control aperture, control the ISO levels, etc., etc., and that's all good and well. However, it's the hassle of actually taking out your phone, attaching it there. Sometimes you get a call in the middle of your recording, so you want to sort of put it on airplane mode, and then you have to connect to its Wi-Fi, and sometimes the signal isn't strong if you're in an environment where there's sort of metal around everywhere, for example. You know, I've had that issue many times before. So those kind of things are actually annoying. Now there is a solution to that problem, and that is to purchase an additional device, which is the DJI Crystal Sky, I believe it's called. And I think they did a 5.5-inch screen and a 7.6-inch screen as well. And it was extremely, extremely bright, so you could use it outdoors, which was great. However, it's an additional purchase, and I think at the time it was released, it was probably around £500–600 in the UK, so probably $600–700 US. So there is another very annoying thing about this camera, and that is that DJI never actually included a base for this camera. Right now I've got it sitting on one of these things. Okay, this was a stand, I believe it was made for the Osmo X3, and that would rest comfortably on there, because if you look at the bottom of this, the battery goes underneath here. That's it, there's nothing else. You can't attach anything else to it like you do in, you know, the Ronins these days. So you would physically need to buy one of these separately and then plug this into here like that, and it would sit there like this. And that's fine, it does work. However, it would have been nice if DJI had designed this in a way where it would have included the legs that like the Ronins have nowadays. You got to also bear in mind that once you've added all the accessories on the side, so once you've added your phone over here, you've got the adapters, it adds quite a lot of weight, so you would see this sort of tilting over to the side, and then it does become heavy. And the final and probably the most difficult thing I find with this is its color profiles. Its color profiles are a little bit strange, and they do require a bit of work post-production. So if you are not in a well enough lit environment, which is where this thing actually shines, you will need to have some color grading skills and the ability to make your final footage look good.
Working with the X5's color profiles does take a bit of practice, and it'll all depend on what you want your final result to look like, but also what you're shooting, the time, the conditions, lighting, etc. Everything matters. To make things easier, we've actually created a preset, a LUT, which is available on our website. Link is in the description below.
Another interesting fact about this camera is this camera was the official camera used on the 2017 Bugatti Chiron world record speed run that Bugatti did. To get that speed run, you obviously needed a fast car. And a lot of people speculating, hey, it's a Supra, you know, tuned to maybe 1,500 horsepower or something silly like that. It wasn't. It was actually another Chiron. So they had two Chirons, and this camera was attached to the back of that second Chiron, and they both had to practice launching at exactly the same time. And they obviously took a few tries, but once they got it, that's the final shot that you see. But this is the official camera that they used to pull that speed run. Obviously there was other cameras used to get the stationary shots, the aerial shots, etc. So what comes in a box itself? Well, you have obviously the device itself. This base plate does not come with it. This is something you have to buy separately. You have your phone holder. This thing opens up like this, and then this part here attaches to the side. You can slot your phone in there, and then that's what you'll use to actually view your screen or view what the camera's looking at. You obviously have the 16mm lens, which I've shown you already as well. You also get 4 on these high capacity batteries. These are 1225 milliamp hour batteries, so they last quite a while. You have a charger that comes with it, and once one battery depletes, you can obviously swap them around. It's not a hot swap device. You will need to turn off the camera, take the battery out, replace it, and then start again. And each time you do that, then obviously you need to reconnect to Wi-Fi, so it can be a bit of a hassle. So the case itself has 2 layers. One is where all the accessories and the main camera parts go. And if you lift top cover off, underneath you will have another layer where you can fit additional bits and pieces related to the Osmo. So is this camera worth having in 2024? I would say it depends on what you're doing. If you're going to need a B-roll camera with no audio and you have a decent prime lens, this is a great choice. It's quick to set up. You don't need loads of additional time to balance. You just literally turn it on, connect to the Wi-Fi, and you'll be up and running literally within 5 minutes. If you are in an environment where noise is not really an issue because you're just, again, literally using it for B-roll, great choice. Sometimes what this thing does struggle with is low light, so you may not be using this more for low light conditions. However, it can still be used, but it all depends on the color profile that you're going to choose to use while you're shooting.
So that wraps up our review of the X5 Osmo that we've been using for many years. It's been an absolute workhorse. It has its ups and downs, but this thing is a great alternative if you don't want something like a Ronin. As long as you can get used to the color profiles and all the other issues that I've discussed, this will be a great choice.
And on that note, I will see you in the next video. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. We have a lot more content coming up very soon. We are trying to dedicate ourselves as much as possible this year to make as much content as we can on this channel. All right. So yeah, take care, and we will see you, or I will see you in the next video.